Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's Vin PF, and on today's episode I've got something a little different to bring to you. As you well know, I like to cover whiskey products as well as whiskey related items and of course the liquid itself. And today is something I found on Instagram that took my interest immediately. I'm a big fan of backyard grilling. I've got a couple of different options outside, including charcoal and a pellet grill smoker. And I've been looking for something to help me get a little bit more smoke out of my pellet grill. We'll get into that a little bit later about errors made and whatnot, but yeah, that's basically what got me interested. And when I saw these on Instagram, straight away I knew I had to have a packet. So I basically bought a packet. In fact, I was speaking to the lad who runs it, and I did buy one, which I've got here, which we'll go into, and he sent me the other one because the order I put through got there just before he went on holiday, so it disappeared into the ether for a little bit. He didn't have to, I did say he didn't have to, but he sent me another packet as well, which was this one here. Now, the reason why this is called, and this is Scotch Whisky Smoking Chips, which are designed for barbecues to add a little bit of smoke. Now, smoking chips are nothing new, we've been doing that for years. There's a couple of different ways you can go about it. You can scatter it in the coals, or you can do what I did, which is use a smoker box. And I'll go through my process about what I did when we get into it. The reason why I was drawn to this is because instead of just whatever smoking chips, when I'm adding chunks of wood to my barbecue, it's just a tree that's been chopped down. These are whiskey barrels that have been chipped down. Literally, you can see it here. In this case, this is a Glen Spey, and then this packet used to be a Linkwood, which is one of my favourite distilleries, so I had to have that. And let me tell you, I'll tell you right from the off, so this is what they come vacuum sealed or whatever, heat sealed. Open this up. Oh, I mean, it just stinks of whiskey. It's so good. It's such a, if you love whiskey, obviously this is going to be for you. And as you can see what I just did there, I've resealed that again. So you can use this over a couple of cooks, that's the whole point. I think this lasts, not for me it didn't, I do long cooks. So basically a whole bag was one big long cook. But again, we'll get into that. So fascinating for people where, the crossover of hobbies, which I think a lot of us do, a lot of us, you guys watching, we like whiskey, we like food, we like outdoor grilling. So there's this big crossover, and I think this hits a nice little niche. You've probably seen whiskey soaked chips or whatever, but I don't think, you might be able to correct me, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone chipping up barrels that are as fresh as this anyway, because they're sort of wet, but we'll get into that. Okay, so what I did then was, when to do a kind of review of this, to see how, actually cool it, undeniably a cool product, does it make a difference? That's the big one. So, as I'll put some B-roll up and stuff, but basically I've got this nice Broil King smoker outside, which you add pellets to on one side. I cooked up a rack of ribs for this, and basically did my rub, as you can see. For me, that's a bit of mustard, some rub that I chuck on there. Later on, I add things like honey and sweet chili and things like that. Now, you chuck this on the smoker, and because it's not coals, ordinarily, if you were going to use a smoker box like me, what you do is you would just put them in the smoker box and chuck them straight on the hot coals. Then they would start to burn when they got to a decent temperature. That's not going to happen in a pellet grill smoker like mine. Doesn't quite get hot enough for that, or at the very least you have to mess around to get the bits out so there's a direct flame underneath. My smoker, or at least with the pellets I use, I don't feel like it's giving me quite enough smoke. I get way more smoke from my charcoal barbecue, obviously, especially if I chuck a big chunk of wood in there or something. So I was looking for something that might give me that. Now, what I have to do is chuck the smoker box in with the meat and set fire to it with my kind of creme brulee blowtorch thing, just at one end, so then that can then propagate through. And then what that would do is, when I close the lid, that lasted me a couple of hours actually, to do it that way, and you can see that the smoke is billowing out of the back, which is something that I wanted. The end result of that obviously was my ribs. I cooked them for probably 5 hours, I think, like that. I think we did. Me and I had Mac over, and we ate those ribs, and hopefully he's going to see this video and he can comment below about how much he thought that they were any good or not. I thought they were absolutely fantastic, probably the best ribs I've ever done. In terms of smoky flavour, I definitely 100% got more smoke out of this, because that's just how these things work. You could literally see the smoke coming out of the box, and mingling in with that atmosphere. You know, I'm not disturbing that. I'm not opening it up to check it. I've got my probes and whatnot to double check that for me. I'll just leave it in there and do its thing. Now, obviously, with ribs, you're going to want to wrap those in foil at some point. So I did that. And at that point, I didn't replace the chips, obviously. What's the point? There's foils in there. So, yeah, it did its thing perfectly, I think. In terms of the whiskiness to it, probably the ribs were a bad idea for that, because there's so much else going on. There's, like, you know, spice, there's mustard, whatever. It's going to be difficult for that. I imagine a lot of the whiskey flavours burn off nice and neatly. But to me, I have to say, I don't think that's the point of this. You can spend money on whiskey chips. You can spend money on smoking chips. They're all going to be about this sort of price. These are about $6.95, something like that, for a packet like this size. And for me, it's about that crossover, like I was talking before. This is a cool item. When I was putting these into the smoking box, I could smell the whiskey. It made me excited to eat the food. It made me excited to use the thing. The only thing I would caveat all of this with is that I didn't try it directly on my coal-fired barbecue. That's going to be what this one's going to be for. So maybe I'll do an update on that another time to see if that makes a huge amount of difference. The problem there is those chips are going to disappear real quick, because I'm not going to be able to control that fire like I did in the smoker box. But yeah, for me, absolutely loved this. It's a great little product. You can see, I mean, the packaging is wonderful. It comes from St Andrews, which is a good place in my heart. You know, I got married in that town, so I love the fact that it's come from somewhere that I really like. The guys running it is superb, really great to talk to in the background, and it's just a one-man band, you know. So I think it's a lovely way of starting this off, and it's a really great thing for people like me and you who like our whiskey, who like our grilling, and you can just experiment with it a little bit. So yeah, what I want from you guys then, if you're interested at all, I reckon chuck in a few quid and buy a bag and see what you think. Whether it makes a difference to you, I don't know. For me, like, this is what we're talking about, guys, because whiskey is an experience-based thing, for me at least. It isn't about drink, it isn't about necessarily even social. You know, I like a dram when I'm watching YouTube, but for me it's an experience-based drink, and this kind of ties into that. You know, it adds to the experience of my backyard grilling. You can pair it with a whiskey if you want, you know, whatever, it's up to you. Grab a whiskey of the same distillery, it's got loads of options, and yeah, I just think it's cool, and I'll be buying more of these bags going forward to, I don't know, show off in the back garden with my friends when they come round and we have a whiskey and we have a barbecue, and I'll get these chips out, everyone smell the bag before we chuck it on. It's just a nice little thing. There you go. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I think it's cool. Hopefully you'll go and buy a bag. That's no affiliate links or whatever. I just think it's a cool product, and I think you should all jump on board and have a go at it. There you go. Let me know what you think, and I'll do another set of grilling on this, and I'll probably post about it on Instagram and let you know how I get on. But in any case, let me know. I'm going to enjoy the whiskey I was last reviewing, and I'll say cheers to you.